I invented farting and then accidentally shitting myself.
That's why people call it the Greg Mitchell. Greg Mitchell nut pants.
Oh, that's my legacy. I've grown to accept it.
History Defeats Itself is a comedy podcast. Kevin, John, and Greg are not experts, historians, or even all that smart.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to History Defeats Itself, part of the Sonar network of podcasts. My name is Kevin Rosenquist. Thank you for spending your time with us. History Defeats Itself is a comedy podcast that wonders if we as people learn from the past or if we simply repeat and defeat ourselves. I am joined by my co-hosts out there in Los Angeles, California, John Banks, Greg Mitchell. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thanks so much for asking. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to answer for John, too. He's doing fantastic. And then he usually says at this point, and how are you doing, Kevin?
That is all true. Go for it, Kevin. How are you doing?
Do you want to go ahead and answer for me as well? Why not? Keep it going, man.
You know, I'm doing okay, guys. But I got to let you know that in Colorado, things are kind of elevated here because I have a baby. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I got a baby and I've got a wife and life's really demanding and my moped wouldn't start today and everyone's getting really crazy and wound up. And thank goodness I get a chance to do this podcast because it's really my only stress relief. But then Greg's going to speak for me the whole episode, so I don't know if I like that too much. And bangs.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. That is, honestly, I closed my eyes and I was just like, wow, is that Kevin?
On each episode, one of us will pick the topic and do the research, while the other two don't do shit. They don't even know what we're going to talk about until it's revealed here during our recording session. And don't forget to rate and review our show when and where you can. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Sorry.
Oh,
And
was that a pregnant pause?
it was not a dramatic pause. It was poor typing on my part.
Oh. And YowTube. Join us on YowTube.
It would have been better if you...
made...
Is it too late for my joke?
No, go ahead.
It would have been better if he made the pause after you, and then you wouldn't know if he was saying porn or...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh,
that's true.
yeah.
No, do not follow us on YouPorn. That would be a horrible idea.
I actually do.
You should.
Let's see what happens.
Wouldn't that be great if there was a History Defeats Itself porn channel?
I mean, great for who?
Great for not many people. But yes, we've been posting some video clips onto Instagram and Facebook, and they're all up on our YouTube channel as well. So check that out if you want to see our lovely faces. Greg's a little blurry, but John and I look fantastic.
We really do. It's the lighting for us is amazing. I don't know what's happening with Greg.
Yeah,
he's a different man than he was before.
I put like half a jar of Vaseline all over my face, and I realized I could have just done it on the camera. But
and apparently the room, you can spread Vaseline all over the whole fucking.
You know what? Let's just be honest. He put it on the camera lens.
It'd be
it's
so
amazing
funny if like Jen walked in right now and just like slipped. Just slipped.
Or if she walked in and she was perfectly clear.
it's kind of cool how much mileage you get out of a jar of Vaseline.
You bought it at Costco, right?
Yeah.
A keg of Vaseline. And lastly,
so wait. Is she slipping or is she clear? You can't be both.
I think we can do either. I think it's just maybe she's totally clear and she looks over and then she slips.
She's like, "What the fuck did I slip on?"
And then she gets up and she's all blurry.
only half of her is where she landed in the Vaseline. That's like
it's like she went into the upside down. Oh, poor Jen.
Lastly, I have been reading. Yeah, I know, it's surprising, about how Apple Podcasts has had some technical issues these past few weeks. If you listen to us on Apple, and for some reason you don't see our show posted at its normal time every other Wednesday morning, I assure you it is not us. It could be an Apple issue, or it probably is an Apple issue.
One of the problems they're having is when you're listening to a podcast on Apple, it will jump back like a minute and just repeat what you just heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess they rolled out some new thing, some new Apple podcast thing, and it has not gone well. And a lot of shows are getting pretty ticked off because their shows aren't publishing. I haven't had any complaints thus far. And John, you listen on Apple Podcasts, so I assume that everything's good. But if anybody has any issues, just don't blame
listen to us on Apple Podcast.
Oh.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Greg does.
I'm going to rate our show right now.
I'm gonna give it 2.5.
3 out of 3 of the hosts are assholes, but that third one is really cute. And the
thanks,
Vaseline
man. I
helps.
appreciate that. All right, John, are you ready to bestow your wisdom upon us?
Yes, I am. Kevin, Greg,
Yes, John.
is there a time in your life that you can remember where you felt ultimate shame, public shame, and 2, did that shaming or that feel of shame change the behavior? So here, while you're thinking about that, I'll answer that question myself.
Okay. Why are you running in place?
So
Yeah, why are you dancing? You're doing this weird thing with your body.
doing the running man.
This is where I get publicly shamed for my dancing, and obviously it didn't stop me.
Did you get? Were you wearing that weird shirt when you got publicly shamed?
This is a BoJack Horseman shirt.
No, Greg, shamed, not shaved. He did not get publicly shaved.
I said shamed.
Oh, okay. I misheard you.
I
Because you're
have
blurry.
been publicly shaved. So
I'm from Spain, so all my M's sound like V's.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Neither did I. Don't think it is a thing, John.
I'm gonna go get shamed ice in Hawaii.
Because I feel no shave.
All right. So when I was in high school, and we were in gym class, and it was like time to change, and so my gym
Penis
class
was small.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that never changed. But in my gym class, so like after my gym class was like this, I forgot what it was, but we would like everybody in school would do this like thing in the gymnasium. It was like some sort of break or something like that. And so I was running like to go take a shower and change, and there was like this table, and I jumped on the table and then jumped off, and the coach didn't like that. So he made me like, and it was like a piece of shit, like fold up school table. So it wasn't like I jumped on like this marble or this like mahogany table. It was like this table they bought like 30 years ago. So they bought it in the 50s. It was a piece of shit table. Anyway, so he made me like clean all these tables while everybody was in the gym. And it was like the most embarrassing thing for me to have to like do this. Right. And so it didn't change. Like I didn't stop doing stuff that got me in trouble, but I did toilet paper his house. so the shaming didn't work. Now, go, one of you.
I just noticed that John titled this podcast at the top of our Zencaster screen, Shame Game. So I guess we probably should have realized what the topic was.
Well, so this is just a question, and it's not really going to be our topic, but it's kicking us off.
Okay.
And I put Shame Game because I didn't want you to know what we were about to do.
Oh boy.
Jesus Christ. This is so... John's just totally cryptic right now, but in the dumbest way fucking possible. I can't really think of too many times that I've been publicly shamed because I'm just awesome, and it seems like my behavior has always been... I mean, do you guys remember who the Fonz was? I was kind of like the Fonz of my youth. Like I didn't...
So you were too old to be hanging out with kids?
Yeah, for the most part.
And he grew up in the 50s.
Okay, I can think of one thing. So I was in... this goes way back, though. I think I was in preschool. So before kindergarten, I was probably like 4 years old, and we had like an assembly in the library. And it must have shamed me. I'm sure it did, because I remember it to this day, and that was a long time ago. And I had to go to the bathroom really bad, but I was too shy and nervous to ask if I could go to the bathroom. I didn't want to call attention to myself in front of like the whole school sitting in the library. It's a really big library. So I just peed on the floor right through my pants. I'm like, for a minute it felt really good. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to get up and walk away. And one of the teachers noticed as you know, the assembly or whatever was dismissed.
And she pointed at you and started laughing and telling everybody to look at you.
She's like,
And she called him pee-pee pants, pee-pee
Gregory,
pants.
did you do that? Yeah, exactly. Pee-pee pants, boy.
Pee-pee pants
And
Mitchell.
I was so mortified, obviously. And
And now you like to be peed on.
I do, and I still pee my pants. So yeah, so it didn't. I don't know if it worked, but
Well, I mean, do you
man,
pee
that
your
was
pants?
humiliating.
Do you still pee your pants?
Yeah, I thought I just said that.
Oh, right. Okay, well, then it didn't work. right.
No, it did not work.
Kev?
I've been sitting here trying to think of something, and I know there's things that I think I just block everything out. So, but there's one that's kind of falls into this category. It's more just like a bad choice I made. I was in third or fourth grade, and we used to have these dances, like at the Legion Hall or some shit, and you would just go, everybody would go and they'd play, Def Leppard and whatever else was hot at the time. And
It's all just Def Leppard.
it was Def Leppard and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And we would go to these things, and there was this one girl who was, she was one of the popular girls at one point, and then sort of became the not popular anymore. Fell out of favor with the popular crew, and she was like the pariah or whatever.
Was this girl's name Kevin?
No, be a better story. But so like these two, as a fourth grader, I was not one of the cool kids. So, one of the cool kids and the girl that he was seeing or whatever they called it back then, they dared me to go snap this girl's bra.
They called it fucking.
Just to like snap this girl's bra, even though I'm pretty sure she didn't have a bra. And so I went up behind her and I did the snap the bra thing, and I ran over and we laughed, and she came over and she smacked me across the face.
Good.
Yeah.
Asshole.
And then nobody else thought it was funny. So everybody was just looking at me like I was a fucking moron, and it was embarrassing. So I felt really.
And you probably never did that again.
So
right?
I had to stay at that dance the entire time, like just feeling like an asshole with a beet red face from when she slapped me, because she got me good, and I deserved every minute. I deserved every inch of it. So yeah. So
it
I
changed
did not.
Your behavior.
I would say like. I mean, I don't know that I didn't. No, I never did that again. But I do think it definitely left a mark to where I think if anybody were to try to tell me to do something like that again, I wouldn't have done it. So I guess it would have changed my behavior.
All right.
It was embarrassing because it was stupid.
I'm embarrassed for you even now at this moment.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you experienced something and you evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Kevin.
Which is actually what shame is supposed to do when it is done in a way that has developed in us evolutionary, right? So it's supposed to be something, as according to Brene Brown, a researcher at the University of Houston. And do you guys know who Brene Brown is? You ever heard of her?
I do. I've heard her interviewed on, I can't remember what podcast. Maybe it was Armchair Expert.
Yeah, she's amazing. She did like a TED Talk, I think in 2012, and then she did another one in 2014. But she started doing all this research on shame, and so she just has all this data. And then so according to Brene Brown, a researcher at the University of Houston, shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we were flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. And it is an emotion that affects all of us and profoundly shapes the way we interact in the world.
Wow, I've never thought about it that way. Like, I've never felt unloved by being shamed. Is that what you said?
I mean, I shame you all the time, and I don't love you, so I'm really surprised you're not.
I mean, I
that.
think shame is built on making someone feel unloved or unwanted, right?
Yeah, but I think your parents can shame you, and do you question whether they love you or not?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, at that time, I think you do feel don't you feel very isolated, alone, and like just you feel like the only person in the world who's not
think your
included?
I definitely would say that if my parents were to shame me, I would have felt like they didn't care.
Yeah,
maybe just for a moment. I don't know. I understand. I understand that that shame is like a deep hurt.
Greg
pain.
clearly shames his children a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've watched it happen.
Just justifying it.
And I gotta say, it's so uncomfortable. It makes everyone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I really hope that you post this video, because you get to see the sigh and the eye roll from Kevin, and the two of those together are quite a beautiful view.
Well, it'll be an awesomely blurry, bluish view of you as well.
So the idea,
So this entire episode is dedicated to shaming. Okay, I get it. Shaming.
it's not.
Is that the topic?
The topic
Shaming
is not
Greg.
shaming. This is kind of like my finance thing. So we're laying some foundation, but then we're actually going to get into what it is, right?
Am I going to have as many questions as I did about your finance one?
Probably. But it's not. It's definitely not as technical and not as
You're
complicated.
going to be like,
and
all right,
there's-
we're revisiting the stock market. We're going to start with shame. And I'm going to shame
There's-
Kevin for all of his questions that he asked during the stock market episode.
There's zero math in this one. So, unless you two bring math into this, there's no math from me.
Is there
So-
science, history, English, or any other subject in school?
There's history.
Shit.
Is there engorged male genitalia?
I mean, do you have an erection right now?
No, but my balls are really big.
Did you get kicked?
I just
By a bull?
I should preface this by saying my balls are always really big.
So you have testicular
Because
cancer
you-
is what you're saying.
Oh, wait.
I didn't
That's
say
not funny.
If you knew anything, you'd know that by the time you reach 40, your chances of having testicular cancer drop dramatically, and I'm a few years past that.
Free
many?
and clear. 11. He's
Couple.
11 past that.
Couple of them.
Couple two tree.
So then, what?
Sorry
shame
for
is,
fucking interjecting my opinion about what shame is and love.
Sorry for partying.
That'd be a really good bumper sticker. History defeats itself. Sorry for partying.
Do you want to listen to three guys that get up at 5:30 in the morning, go to bed around 8:39?
That's actually pretty accurate.
Sometimes they wake up at 4 in the morning from the crushing anxiety rising up inside them.
Sometimes
Well,
we wake
listen
up
to
at
history.
1 o'clock in the morning and go pee because their prostates are big.
Can't go back to sleep.
I should have drank that water right before bed. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
I told myself 70 fucking times, stop drinking at 7 o'clock at night if you're going to go to bed at 9.
I set an alarm and I ignored the alarm.
Had a dream I was peeing in a closet and then woke up and was peeing in a closet.
So then shame.
Shame would be what Jen would do if she caught you peeing in the closet.
Yeah, that is true. So what shame? So then of our stories. So then what shame is supposed to do for us as a society? It is supposed to correct a behavior. So if you shame someone, they change that behavior, and then that person should be allowed back into the group. Right?
Oh, I think I know where. I think I'm going to take a guess where John's going with this episode.
Okay. Where do you think I'm going?
Cancel culture.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say shame.
Because we've been talking about shame.
Yeah.
What do I win?
You win to get to answer this question.
Okay.
No, you don't win anything. You win nothing.
You win. You get
We've
to take
given
over
away
the episode now.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Yep.
It's so funny. I was just having a conversation about cancel culture with. Fuck, I don't even remember because usually in most conversations I just concentrate on what I'm saying.
You wait to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, wait to talk, just like you're doing.
Yep.
And
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to either one of you.
So-
Can I go now?
actually, we had a lot of opinions about cancel culture. I know who I was talking to. It was a
So
friend.
I've literally just gotten through the first
No,
fucking
I know,
sentence.
but I want to talk all about it right now. I'm excited.
Okay, well let me. But I want to talk all about it too. But before we get into
I'll
it,
pull the e-brake. It's fine.
What inspired this, and I'm actually going to give a shout out to another podcast who doesn't need a shout out from us at all. But there's this woman who was a reporter for the New York Times, and she actually left because of the harassment she was getting because she's actually very centrist, and what she likes to do is she actually likes to report a story. She doesn't have a political agenda or anything like that. She's like, here's the facts, here's my piece, you decide for yourself, right? Which is what reporting should be. So she wasn't having that experience at the New York Times, so she left and she started this podcast called Honestly. And so one of the recent ones was on, do you guys remember Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper? That was where the bird watcher, a very
Yes.
large black man,
Oh,
was
yeah.
in Central Park, and a white woman, and there's a 40-second video or minute video of her like being hysterical and talking about there's this man threatening her. And I know when I saw that, I think like most people in the world, right? I thought, oh, she's racist. This is bullshit. And what was really fascinating is so on the same day that came out was the same day the George Floyd video came out. So on May 25th, 2020, you had these two videos come out. One of them was definitely about race, right? And murder. And the other was this video that we only get a snippet of what actually happened, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But it really got me thinking. It really started making me question, like, wow, I definitely am biased, and I'm jumping to conclusions
Towards birds?
towards birds and dogs, and I'm jumping to conclusions without really digging in and trying to understand the whole story. And I think it happens a lot, and I think that's like what is a very dangerous thing of cancel culture, because ideally what it should be about is, if you have a behavior, and again, like there's different levels. For example, like you, Kevin, snapping that girl's bra. You absolutely should have felt like shit. You should have been shamed because you needed to change that behavior, and it worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Greg, on the other hand, he's 4 years old. He shouldn't feel shame because he shouldn't have an adult make him feel shame because he peed his pants because he's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think he said 4th grade.
Wait, did you say 4th grade or
No,
4
I
years
said
old?
it was fucking preschool, dick.
Wait, am I a dick or is Kevin a dick?
Kevin, for sure,
Oh, okay.
Kevin. John,
Yeah,
you've been
Kevin.
you've been lovely this whole
Aw,
episode.
Thank you.
Kevin,
I feel
on the
really
other
good.
hand, we're enemies.
That's nothing new.
What do you guys fight on the weekend? Well, like what? How does
Yeah,
that?
we fight on the weekends. We get through a grinding Monday through Friday at work, and then we're like, Kevin, are we sparring at my house or your house?
You're like
That's how we decompress.
we're part of a virtual fight club.
Yeah, virtual fight club. We're pretty tough. We just punch each other in the face on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Punch ourselves in
And
the
what I
face
do,
on a Zoom call.
I have Ray play the part of Kevin's fists.
Wow, that's
So Ray's really
That's-
punching me.
Yeah, I don't think I could take a Ray punch.
no. I have Elwood, so I get off a lot better than he does.
I could definitely take an Elwood punch. So I mean, maybe not in 10 years, but right now I could totally. That baby could punch me, and I'd be like, "You're such a baby." So then before we kind of get into it, like, do you guys have some opinions about like how do you feel about it? What do you have you?
What I think is really important before we get to our opinions is maybe you complete the story arc of what really happened at that park.
No, that's going to be for later.
Oh shit! Okay, I
That's
didn't mean
that's
to
what we
steal her
call a
thunder, but
teaser.
I didn't want to leave that bow untied.
Basically, what I did was I took my tongue and I just flicked the tip, right? And then I'm gonna run in the kitchen and grab some cereal, and then get ready to be disappointed.
Wow, that's not the order I was expecting of all that.
It's a John Banks story. So
leaving everyone unsatisfied. Okay.
well, and I will say this, right? So I want to, and before we get into this, and I'm going to speak for all of us here, and if you disagree with any of this, please jump in. But I think if you are a listener of our show, like I do believe that there's systemic racism. I do believe there's sexism. We all do, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely privilege. There's there's like women who are abused, and there's all this horrible shit that all of this stuff has like. The reason we have this cancel culture is a reaction to all of these things, and I absolutely believe that bigotry, xenophobia, racism, sexism, it is all very well it's deeply ingrained in our society in many ways.
Yeah, and we talk about systemic racism on this show almost in
Yeah.
every episode. And
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I have a somewhat recent story of when I I canceled someone. I like to barbecue.
Greg?
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of barbecuing.
Are you part of a barbecuing like fantasy league?
No.
Fantasy barbecuing league?
No,
Oh, okay.
but I am doing a competition in a couple weeks.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Do you think there's a difference between grilling and barbecuing?
Yes.
Okay.
I follow this.
There is?
I was on this email newsletter of this guy who'd just have all these smoker recipes, and he would send them, and some of them were good, some of them weren't the best. And truthfully, I wasn't following it as much as I had. I always looked at them, but I wasn't using it as much. But so he sent this one. It was right before the Super Bowl, and he was like, if you're gonna be ready for the big game, and he always just was like totally about barbecuing and didn't ever stick his nose in politics or anything like that. But he said this thing, and he's like, yeah, these days I don't like my politics and sports mix, so I don't really pay much attention. I don't pay any attention to the NFL anymore. And it was INEFEL, NFL. And it was clear to me anyway that he was saying it like a black person, because a lot like that's sort of the way that they that people say the NFL, like a lot of the announcers and stuff like that. He was mocking that. And I'd stopped following him. because I mean, he was basically saying that he didn't like the NFL anymore because of the politics that were involved in it. And I understand that people don't like politics in everything, but we don't have to get into the kneeling for the anthem and all that stuff. But I really mostly didn't appreciate. He could have easily just put the letters NFL. He chose to do it a different way, and it bothered me. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to follow this guy anymore. And maybe I could have misread it, and I could have overreacted. But whatever my mood that day, it was last Super Bowl, so obviously everything was hot then. And
well, so here's, but I think there's a difference, and I think that's a really good. I think it's a really good story, and I think it's a really good point. But I think there's a difference between. You didn't cancel him because you didn't like the cancel culture is you would have gone on Twitter and you would have gone on his Twitter page and you would have said, hey, you would have called him out for being racist, and then all of a sudden 1,000 people pile on, or if you would have had a video of him, like something like that. So what you did was you just
so
made a
personal
choice.
Cancel culture. I mean, well, so it doesn't. You don't think that applies to cancel culture when people do that?
No, I don't think it applies to cancel culture because cancel culture really is more about shame. Right,
okay.
It's more about. Okay, so let me read this. Right, so this is from Psych.com, and this is in quote "Castle: The Origins of Our Discontents" from 2020. The American journalist Isabel Wilkerson reaches back to the Book of Leviticus to examine one of the mechanisms underlying hierarchy in the instances of exclusion. The scapegoat. Ceremonially endowed by the high priest with all the guilt and misdeeds of the community and driven out into the wilderness. So basically, like in my understanding of doing this research and kind of my experience of it is basically what we're doing is we take someone like an Amy Cooper, right? So on the same day that Amy Cooper has that video, and again, I have no idea if Amy Cooper is racist or not, right? I don't know who she is as a person. I've never hung out with her, but all of America, all of the world is seeing this video of George Floyd, which is fucking horrific, right? And Derek Chauvin got what he deserved, and I hope he gets murdered in prison, right? Or at least butt fucked a lot.
Yeah, I mean, come on, tone it down, John. Just go for the butt fucking.
I mean, it's like he deserves to suffer, right, for what he did. He took a man's life, and that's the thing is like he went into a court of law, and it was shown he has a history of being a dick. Right, and history of being aggressive and violent.
I would just like to interject really quickly and say some people do not consider being butt fucked a miserable experience.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know.
Right.
Prison butt fucked?
Yeah, I don't think anyone raping. Nobody wants to get raped. How about that? Let's get rid of. You're right. I apologize. Because I'm implying that somehow to be gay or something is to be lesser, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that he deserves whatever horrible things that are going to come to him in prison because he killed a man
through the anus.
All the horrible things he's getting need to go through the anus. Yeah, everything.
So
it's really spicy chicken wings up the anus. Everything's got to go up the anus.
It's weird how you can feel spice through your butthole.
Like the 911 wings. Or are we just talking about like a medium heat?
No, I think a pretty aggressive heat. Yeah.
Yeah, like a pretty okay. Like a ghost pepper.
Like a ghost pepper sauce. Yeah, for sure.
Ooh,
yeah,
man, that would definitely.
And you don't have any blue cheese or ranch or anything.
No, nothing's going to tone that
carrots,
thing down.
No celery.
No carrots to put out the fire.
He's like running around like patting his butt with a carrot. Like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god.
How do we get to these places? It happens organically, but
he steals the last meal of someone on death row. Happen to be chicken wings, and
it's only like 2 standard deviations away from a Hooters.
Not a sponsor
yet.
I
think ever now.
Hooters, almost like being in prison. So so then on the same, and that is horrific, and and then on the same day that's happening, right? We're watching this woman have this experience with this black man who is incredibly calm during this whole thing, right? So she's losing her mind and he's calm, and I think that's the thing is Derek Chauvin didn't seem to give a shit, right? Derek Chauvin didn't it was like you can't he was kind of protected by his union, and and there's that whole systemic racism and protection in the police force, and so it was like all of a sudden it was like all of that anger went at her, so she became our scapegoat, right? And again, not it's I think the point of it is like cancel culture is it's things are. Nobody's perfect, right? We've all done shit we regret. Like, I know, like, thank God, and we've said this before, like, thank God there was not this kind of social media and these platforms, like when I was even in my 30s, right? Like, but in my 20s especially, and in my teens, thank God none of the stupid shit I said and did was recorded and out there forever, right? Because that's the thing, too, is somebody will do something 10, 15 years ago, and then, it will come up on social media or somehow it gets dug up, and we shouldn't excuse things. We shouldn't excuse people for doing racist things or sexist things. But it's like we assume that the person, 15 years older is the same person they were 15 years ago when none of us are the same person we were 15 years ago.
Greg is.
Right? So well, yeah. He looks the same. He's actually looked about 55 since he was 25.
Was he always been this blurry, though?
Wait till I'm 75.
Are you going to binge him about? Are you going to get younger?
Kevin, it sounds kind of like you're making fun of me for being blurry, and it's no fault of my own. And
it's really not.
If you're going to attack me for something I have no control over, maybe attack me for my great looks and my amazing muscle tone.
So
well,
are you
actually, I have
just?
control over that.
Did you seriously just say that? Considering that you make fun of me because of my skin tone.
I don't see a double standard. And I did notice that you look exceedingly glowy white today. But I didn't even mention it.
I mean, until now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
had to.
Swedish, and I don't want cancer.
That's fair. Okay. The sun will give you cancer.
Yes, it will.
So,
well, going back to what Kevin was talking about earlier, his story of unfollowing someone that he disagreed with, a racist choice they made. I do think that is just more of an individual choice, and I don't know if that would fall under the definition of what cancel culture would be. I don't think anyone got shamed by your definition, but I do think it's just an individual just being kind of repulsed by somene's...
I thought it was kind of writing, but also just like writing people off. Does that not play into it?
It could be, but I think cancel culture...
Cancer culture is a completely different thing. Yes.
Cancel culture.
I thought the whole time we were talking about cancer culture.
I've been drinking a lot.
What are we doing here?
I'm drinking. That's what we're doing. I'm drinking. Yeah. But I think it's more like when a whole culture takes someone out of like the zeitgeist, or at least changes the definition of who they are.
So it should be culture cancel.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as good of a ring.
So it's a whole group that is like, you know what? Fuck this guy. It's basically we're blackballing somebody.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of, I think rights and wrongs are on a sliding scale. You can't compare what like Harvey Weinstein did to something, an inappropriate pass that someone made at somebody, or, there's higher degrees of crimes of which you should maybe justifiably be canceled, and then there's other ones that John, I think the point that John's getting to is, getting shamed, learning and evolving, and everybody loves a second chance, but people that are on the left politically tend to eat our own, and as soon as someone just kind of shits the bed, we all kind of point and say, look at what this person did, and while you're kind of thinking, God, I'm glad I didn't do something like that, because I'm not the one being canceled right now. So it's a fucked up situation.
It is, but I think it's hard because where do you draw that line? I mean, we talked recently about Greg's favorite hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens, and how they drafted somebody in the first round. We talked about this off air, but about how they drafted someone in the first round who had gotten a hold of had some video or pictures of a girl in a compromising situation and shared it with friends, right, Greg? I mean, did he put it on social media, or did he just share it with people?
He did, and then he also identified the person
as well. And
so
he put it up on social media. Okay.
He got convicted of a crime. So yeah. I think when we had that conversation, not to steal like kind of what happened, but it was playing itself out appropriately
and he kind of recused himself from the draft, and the Montreal Canadiens went ahead and fucking drafted him anyway.
Which is stupid. But the point
that was the fucked up part.
But the point that I wanted to make was that should his hockey career be over?
No, and no one was saying it should be over. But what they were saying was, let him go undrafted. Give him a year. Give him a fucking year. He asked for the year to educate himself and to see if he's made an improvement of personality, and who knows what he could do during that time. Realize the wrongdoings, apologize appropriately, which I don't know that he ever did. And then if he's worthy in a year or so, then he could get employed in hockey. And that Canadians were like, fuck it, no one's going to care. We'll try and sweep this under the rug.
But I'm sure there's people out there who thought he should take a hike. Just, you're done. You know?
Yeah, I you're never gonna please everybody,
right.
And in
but that's
my
point is, where is that line? You know, I mean, yeah, you can use Harvey Weinstein as the top of the people. No one can deny that guy's a fucking monster and should be in jail and away from anybody. But then everything in between to the person who just says something inappropriate. You know, like I mean, there is a lot of. There's some gray area in the middle.
There's a lot. Well, it's a lot of fucking nuance. And I'll say, so the I think so you made a personal choice. I am taking my time. Okay. You made a personal choice
to not follow that
right, to not follow that guy,
anymore, yeah.
right? And so let's say that I don't know who the guy is, but let's say something came out where he had used a very racial slur against some race, right? So then what would happen, right? So then that would, if it was recorded or tweeted or whatever, so then what happens is then that gets thrown out into the world, and then he's annihilated. And I'm not, here's the thing, I'm not saying he shouldn't be annihilated, right? I'm not saying that, because that is the thing. Shame is an effective tool to change a behavior, but shame is only an effective tool to change a behavior if that person is eventually able to join back into society, right? So like with the case of Amy Cooper, so within 4 hours of that happening, I think 2.5, 3 hours later, it got posted by, I think it was Christian Cooper's sister who actually posted the video. And then immediately after that, people were looking up, finding her number, calling her, giving her death threats, texting her death threats, and then she got fired or they let her go from her job. And, so then immediately all this stuff happened. So it was this huge reaction that ruined this person's life on a 40-second video that everyone assumed they knew what it was about. So, since I'm just going to go, all right, so I'm going to go to this part of it, and then we can come back around because I had this whole buildup of the internet and everything. But, all right. So
John is fed up with us.
Greg, you always say that we should all have a narrative. He has a narrative, and then you fuck it up for him.
Yeah.
You fuck up my narrative. All right, so...
I did.
So I don't need to the name. So anyway, so this is happening, and she makes this 911 call, and here's just like a little excerpt from the 911 call. So Amy Cooper says, quote, "Can you please stop? ? Sir, I'm asking you to stop. Chris Cooper, please don't come close to me." And again, I don't know if you remember the video, like Amy Cooper is definitely, her emotions are heightened, and Chris Cooper is super fucking calm. So then Amy Cooper says, and by the way, so Amy Cooper is a woman, right? And so I think this is like one of those things we have to consider. So let's take, just for the sake of this conversation in this moment, let's just take race out of it. Let's say these two people were the same race. And so here you have a very big man and you have a woman, right? So you certainly have someone who can physically overpower you. And they were in something, I think, what was it called? Oh, the Ramble. So they were in something called the Ramble, which is this part of Central Park that is really excluded. And it's like a bird watching area, so the whole thing happened was because COVID was happening. There's like a couple of fields in the Ramble, so she was letting her dog run, and Chris Cooper asked her to put the dog on a leash, and then this inspired. But let me finish reading this, and then I'll tell you actually what. And this was on the Barry Weiss podcast. On Honestly, she did not do the research. It was an African American reporter who kind of dug down into this, and so everything I'm going to talk about is from his, like, what he discovered, right, and through his reporting. And I cannot remember his name right now, and I apologize. But all right, so then. So then Amy Cooper says, she says she'll take a picture and call the police. Chris Cooper says, please call the cops. Amy Cooper, I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life, right? That's very damning. And I remember when I saw this, that was it for me. I was like, immediately, I was like, she's racist. This is fucked up. This is the same old shit, right? And then Amy Cooper again says, I'm sorry. And so then she's on the phone. She says, I'm sorry. I'm in the ramble. And there's a man, African-American. He has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. And so I think that's really important because that's not on the video. So what we come into and what we see is Amy Cooper losing her fucking shit. And Chris Cooper actually like kind of wrote out what happened on his own Facebook page, and even in interviews admitted that what he said was, you're going to do what you want, so I'm going to do what I want. And then he like has like these dog treats he pulls out. So this woman doesn't know if this man's about to poison her dog or what's about to happen. And Chris Cooper actually had, and she did not know this at the time. So this is not, and again, I don't want to vilify anybody, right? So Chris Cooper has had several encounters of people where he actually got assaulted by people, and also people had felt threatened by him. And what was really fascinating is, so the report in the New York Times, it was like a 2,900 word report. And they didn't get into this part of it until about 2,700 words in. And it was like such a small part. And in the reporting of this from every news outlet was they never talked about this, right? They just kept replaying the video. And then everybody took the narrative that she's this racist. But, you know, if someone were to say to me, you're going to do what you want, so I'm going to do what I want. And then they start pulling out. And I think they're going to kill my dog. And I am obviously... there's physically nothing I can do, then I would have some fear about that, right? So anyway, so then she says, say, I'm sorry, I'm in the, okay, ready with that. So yeah.
So wait, so he had just dog treats on him?
Right, but what he was implying, and this is what other people who had encounters with him, and this is actually, there was in the Barry Weiss thing, they the guy who was putting it all together, he interviewed a guy who does he's a local reporter in New York, and he was talking about that is a very common thing. So like bird watchers and dogs walkers, so dog people and bird people in New York have a very contentious relationship already, and so they have a lot of tension between them, and they have a lot of altercations between them, mostly verbal. So he's saying to her, I'm going to, he's basically implying... What
he said was that he was really annoyed with the fact that dog walkers let their dogs off of leashes where they're not supposed to, and they're destroying the environment where it's happening. So what he does is he purposely carries treats with them so he can freak out the dog owners to make them think that, oh, fuck, I should not have let my dog off the leash because... now there's consequences to be hit, and he likes to fuck with their heads a little bit about him potentially poisoning the dogs.
So he was actually trying to give that impression.
He was trying to yes.
He admits this in his own
that.
Facebook page, and he has admitted this in interviews, right? So it's not something that just came up with, or someone just came up with, and this is actually something that he's admitted to. And then they play the recording of the 911 call. And remember how she just kept getting more and more frantic and just more and more panicked, and he's super calm? Well, imagine, again, you think this person is threatening your dog and your life, right? So whether it's a real threat or perceived threat, this is the feeling you have. And in that moment, the 911 operator, the phone, because where she was at was a really patchy spot, so the 911 operator could not hear her, so she was screaming because the phone couldn't hear her. And they play like the 911 call, and you can't hear it. You cannot hear what she's saying. So... so then what happens, right, is again, she gets death threats, she gets lost, she loses her job. She's in hiding to this day. Like, nobody knows where she's at. She's in hiding. So her life has, and even Chris Cooper has said, that he doesn't think this is just what's happened to her. So then how this is different than what you did, right, is you just stopped following a guy, right? You didn't ruin his life.
I did threaten to kill his dog.
Well, I mean, who hasn't threatened to kill a dog?
Yeah, that's true.
But you didn't ruin his life, and whatever. And that guy probably doesn't even know you're not following him anymore, right? He has no idea you exist.
I mean, I don't know how many followers he has, so maybe he does. He just keeps refreshing, waiting for me to come back.
He's Dear Diary. Why did Kevin leave me?
Well, I think bigger picture, and I don't mean to interrupt what you're about to say, John.
No, this is we're a conversation. Of course you do.
Bigger.
I mean, not interrupt, but of course, please go on.
Bigger picture is that in 2020 and 2021, and especially on the heels of what happened, although I think this incident happened before George Floyd.
The same day.
but I think if I'm not mistaken, like this news broke first.
Maybe it did.
I remember. I think I remember it happening in that order, and I remember being equally outraged because in 2020 or 2019 or whatever,
It was 2020, May 25th, 2020.
If you say that an African American man, if you're calling the police and saying an African American man is threatening you, you're potentially giving them a death sentence, and that's where we have an issue with our society at large. Because you said earlier that you're going to take race out of it when you gave that example, and that's fine. But unfortunately, as we've all know and we've all discussed, because we live in a culture that is systemically racist, you can never really take that out. And
I agree with
that. That simple
but you also to like just real quick, but you can also not take out that women are abused.
I agree.
And assaulted by men.
I agree.
Way more than men are assaulted by women, right? So it's like so if we're going to put that into the equation, and again, I am not arguing here for who's right or who's wrong, because the point of this is really more about like how we react as a society, right? And I just thought
so that's where I was going next, where it was the problem with living in the day and age that we live in right now is everybody can be passionate and vocal behind the keys of their keyboard or their phone. And just
or on a podcast,
or on a podcast, and have these explosive opinions and all this bullshit. Where nobody gives a fuck anymore about what happened. Most people's opinions about this woman in this incident, they fucking came to a boil, and it simmered down after. And unfortunately, the damage is done. The damage is done to her reputation. She's been smeared, and it's affecting.
That's the problem.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. But I'm trying to help identify the problem. Is nobody gives a fuck anymore. No one's as passionate about. But I mean, try to go get a fucking job now. Because if they pull up your resume and they read your name and then they Google you, which I do some hiring for my company. I fucking Google everyone that comes through. And they see this, it's like, I don't want to bother. I'm not gonna hire this person even if they're qualified.
I have a story that you guys, I believe, know, which would be a really good example of this. And I don't really talk about this much, but when I was living in Chicago, I was general manager of hockey rinks, a few hockey rinks, and one of the rinks that I managed was in a pretty rough neighborhood, and it was also where the Blackhawks practiced. And there was an incident where three hockey players were robbed at gunpoint in the garage of our hockey rink, and essentially, a lot of things happened as far as we're working with the police afterwards, and we're doing everything we can and trying to figure everything out and all that. Well, I got about a slew of emails constantly, just like what's going on, what's happening, and I was instructed by my boss to not say anything until we had a statement to make. So I didn't. I just responded with the usual, we're working with the police, we'll make a statement soon. We're working with the police, we'll make a statement soon, over and over and over again. And then this one guy emails me, and he just really caught me at a bad time, and he was saying all this stuff like, you need to do this, you need to make it safer, you need to do this, you need to make sure that people like me who come in from the suburbs to play hockey are safe, and all this stuff. And I was so pissed off about it because I'm like, hey man, what am I supposed to do? I can't make the city safe for you, So I told him, I did my usual line, and at the end of it I said, and man, if you don't feel safe coming to the city from the suburbs to play hockey, then I suggest you stay in the suburbs and play hockey.
There's rinks out there.
Yeah, innocent little thing I never thought anything of. So shortly after that, I hung out with you guys because I went to LA shortly after that. And while I'm in LA,
did you go to Del Taco when you were in LA?
No, I wouldn't go to that garbage.
You did go there. You did go to that garbage dump, didn't you? And you didn't like it, but you went.
Was
there.
that the time? But I get a call from my boss. I'm at this restaurant with my wife, and I get a call from my boss, and he's like, dude, you're all over the news right now. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're all over the news. So basically what happened is the guy who I sent that email to told the press that when he voiced concerns about the robbery, I told him, if he doesn't like it, go play in the suburbs. He didn't say that he was like telling me that I needed to make it safe so that suburban people felt safe in the city. He left that part out conveniently. Dude, I was vilified. I got so many emails. There are tons of negative reviews for the hockey rink for people who've never been there. I got voicemails I came back to the office to voicemails of people just calling me every name in the book. My wife came. I told her not to read anything.
Your wife divorced you.
My wife divorced me. But I told her, I was like, don't read anything. And there was one day I remember
I forgot about Kathy, your first wife.
But I remember I was sitting in the living room at one point, and she just comes over and she sits next to me, and she's got tears in her eyes, and she just hugs me, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I couldn't help it. I started reading all the stuff people were saying about you. It's so unfair. And I was like, because I admit I didn't really read any of it. I was just like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Obviously it affected me, but I'm like, I'm not even gonna do this. And I've never actually talked about it in any sort of public way. I got calls from newspapers and stuff like that. I ignored them all. Because I'm just like, you know what? I'm not participating in this.
You can't even defend yourself.
Well, what difference does it make? People have already made up their minds.
right.
They think I'm a monster
right.
because I said I said this. And this fucking guy wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and for whatever reason decided to go on NBC News. He apparently, I found out later, he had some friend who worked over there, and she was young and trying to make a name for herself. And the Blackhawks were associated with our hockey rink, so they took it upon she took that opportunity. That was when they were winning Stanley Cups, so she took that opportunity to try to get her foot in the door somewhere. And it was all just basically just self-serving bullshit that eventually just threw me under the bus. So I guess long story short, I mean, even when you don't lose your job and have to go into hiding, it still affects you in a really negative way. I mean, I didn't sleep for a long time. I was definitely affected by it, even though I was ignoring it. It was a tough thing. And later on, when I was looking for a job and wanting to move to Colorado and all that stuff, it definitely played into I definitely thought about that. I was like, because if people Googled my name, like you just said, Greg, that you do, if people Googled my name for a long time, the first things that came up were about me being this giant asshole,
Now it's just
but a lot of that
handsome
was
podcast.
Now
editor
it's
with
just
bangs.
like Kevin Rosenquist,
Right. A lot of that was me.
amazing hair, amazing.
I still write Kevin
complexion,
Rosenquist an asshole.
amazing
He's the worst
skin
human
tone.
in the world.
You know what I find funny
He's really into
is
microbreweries, like some brew fucking Nazi piece of shit. That's usually what I say.
Are Nazis into craft brewing?
Yeah, they really are.
I guess that's something I did not know.
That is not in the history books.
I mean, you know what? In your defense, John, I am drinking a German-style lager.
all right, guys. Good night. See you later. I think that I bet you that person that was so outraged by you and your attitude about it didn't recognize that he had said anything wrong. So I think that the outrage for him was probably sincere.
I don't know, man, because what he had said was when I voiced concerns, I was told to stay in the suburbs and play hockey. You tell me that after that he doesn't know what he said. He's not going to go back and see that he totally led that. He started that entire thing.
Yeah, I don't think he thinks that's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, no,
if that's his prism in which he views like the way society should be, then he genuinely thinks that you have a responsibility to keep suburbanites safe in urban environments that are uncontrollable.
Well, hold on. But a lot of people don't know this, but Kevin is actually Batman. So to be fair, you're doing a shitty job.
He is one of the few people who know my secret. That I fight crime at night.
When I was in Chicago, I don't know, it was probably there like 4 or 5 months ago, and we were staying in the city, and it's a fucking city. There's the thing that people don't live in cities and don't. Like John lives in a city now, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
the thing that people don't realize is there's crazy shit going on all the time,
Everywhere.
and
Constantly.
Well, but that's the thing, though. But it's
Constantly.
actually it's in certain areas, right? I mean, it's everywhere, but there's certain areas
It
like a
can
small town.
happen anywhere.
That's true, but it can happen anywhere.
And
Anywhere.
a lot of the people that I was traveling with were upset about the fact that there was like a lot of young, good-looking people that were going out to clubs. It was after dinner hours, and their kids, because we were getting to hotels, we were going back and forth, and they saw a lot of things that are very city-like that you don't see in the suburbs. And they were upset about that. They're, this neighborhood's super
like what?
dangerous. Well, I mean, people are yelling shit or swearing loudly, and it was nothing. I didn't see anything that bad. It's not like anyone got fucking stabbed or shot.
Was it just crackheads, or was it like more just like arguing?
It was kind of like arguing. There were like
There's a lot of breakdance.
It was a lot of breakdancing. It's a fucking city. Yeah, a lot of breakdancing, and they were all
Electric Boogaloo in Chicago.
Chicago's really
a classic.
Chicago's really bad. I'm not going back there. I don't want to stay there again. Fuck that shit. I'm like, you gotta just realize that you're not in your small little quaint hometown.
Do these people never go to L.A.? I mean,
well, L.A. is a little bit different. L.A. is a unique city because
it's so big and so spread out.
It's so big and so spread out, and the part of the really urban part of LA is not too huge, and shit can happen anywhere, even in the suburbs. I mean, there's crime that happens throughout the city of Los Angeles.
yeah, I watch Forensic Files.
Yeah,
No, I don't actually watch Forensic Files.
I watch SVU. Wait,
Yeah.
that's New York. Never mind.
Shit, that doesn't work either. Damn it.
SVU Los Angeles.
SVU, small town.
What happened to this pig?
Hey, Greg,
yeah. Wow.
should we
What?
should we let John continue his episode?
Fuck you.
All right. Well, so
I feel like I haven't let John talk in a while, and I just interrupted him again. I realized the irony in that.
So
Oh, I thought you were just giving me shit specifically,
No, I
like
was
you weren't
talking
taking
about
any of
me and
that
you. I
either.
was talking about me and you.
Oh, okay. Then can I unfuck you?
I kind of liked it.
Okay.
So and so kind of my point is, or kind of like what I've like when I was reading everything and going through all like these different stories of people who've been canceled, and so really what it seems to be about, right? So the idea, and the reason I started with shame is the idea is it's like, again, shame. Harvey Weinstein should be in jail because it was recurring, and to say he didn't know any better, fuck that. He was sexually assaulting women.
He was
and
raping
women. Yeah, and raping women.
Yeah, I was saying not even recurring. I mean, he straight up assaulted
Yeah.
women. Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm saying he did it over and over. So his ass needs to be in jail, right? He broke the law, and he needs to be in jail for the law, right? You, Kevin, did not break the law. You did a dumbass kid thing, right? And you learned.
Wait, what are we talking about? The bra thing?
We're talking about the bra thing.
All right,
right?
all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope
Now
that's what
all
we're
of a
talking
sudden,
about.
Kevin's Harvey Weinstein. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I
God
see where
damn
this
it.
is going.
God damn it, John.
Yeah, and so let me read this, and then we do need to take a break, a commercial break. But
Yeah,
all
I've
right,
had
so
a lot of adult beverages. I need to go pee-pee.
the
too.
Greeks practiced a kindred rite using a human sacrifice, the pharmakos, who was beaten and promenaded in the streets before being exiled, which was considered a kind of death by the Greeks. So they didn't actually physically kill them; they exiled them, which is kind of what we do with people when we cancel them, right? We exile them into obscurity. This was at once diversion and atonement, a way for a dominant group to label an, quote, other as evil and cast that evil out, as if it would then no longer abide within them and they could imagine themselves free of blemish. So the modern scapegoat performs an equivalent function, uniting otherwise squabbling groups in enmity against a supposed transgressor who relieves the condemners of the burden of wrestling with their own wrongs. What is lost, the Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor argues in...
Okay, listen, guys, because it's going to be really important.
Oh, because he's Canadian? Yep. A Secular Age, written in 2007, is the ambivalent, numerous duality of the sacrifice victim. No longer is it acknowledged, however tactically or subconsciously, that the scapegoat, whether guilty or not of a particular offense, is ultimately a mere stand-in for the true culprits responsible for a society gone askew, which I really do believe was what happened to Amy Cooper, right? Again, not saying she didn't do something wrong, not saying that, there shouldn't be some sort of public shaming or some consequence to that, but she basically took the brunt of systemic racism in our society and was exiled, right? And that is the part where if our, so in other words, if our goal is to just keep kicking people out that we disagree with and never try to change anyone, then great, we should keep canceling. But if the goal is look, your behavior does not work, and as a society we're saying nope. So, and then because what happens is, and we'll get into some other cases, but what happens is if you give people the chance to redeem themselves, most of the time they will, right? And then if they don't, then we've learned a lesson about that person. But if they do, then we allow them, in other words, it's like you've learned the lesson, so now you get to be back let into the tribe, right? So think about that. We're all going to go pee, grab some drinks, maybe do a little bit of...
Blow.
I was going to say blow. I was definitely going to say blow. So. All right, we'll be right back. What is? I always forget.
Ayahuasca.
No, that'd be awesome.
That's a good name for fucking a pot strain.
That is a good name.
Stop calling it pot. Just stop calling it pot. I don't.
God damn it! I went to training for that. To stop saying it. Fuck!
All right. So welcome back to
I had a
History
rubber
Defeats
band
Itself.
on my wrist, and I would snap it every time I said pot.
That's a good segue back into the episode.
Welcome back. Hopefully we have not offended you and you decided to cancel us. This is definitely not one of our funnier episodes, but I really put the onus on Kevin and Greg, so you guys are sucking it right now.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to be funny and I was supposed to be serious, and you have ruined that. So
Yeah, we did. Greg, we got to start making fun of John more. That's usually how this goes.
yes. All right. So I'm going to read
I
a little
love
bit.
John, and I express my love through not making fun of him.
That's not true. You make fun of me all the time. That's basically how you express your love.
Oh, good point. Oh, you think that's love? That's just straight out hate, buddy.
Oh.
Well, then I'm really confused on how you feel about him. This is all over the map.
You think you're confused?
I'm confused too.
I'm having all kinds of emotions. I'm having sadness and some sadness and a lot more sadness.
All right, well, come on. Continue talking about canceling cable.
New York Times article by Lahia Michon. Although cancel culture is not
canceling cable.
Thank you for laughing.
Cut the cable.
Although cancel culture is not a movement, it has neither leaders nor membership. And those who take part in it do so erratically, maybe only once, and share no coherent ideology.
That sounds exactly like my diet. There's no leaders.
There's no
members.
rhyme or reason.
There's
One
no
day
rules.
it's Chiefs Puffs, and the next day it's broccoli. Who the fuck knows?
Sometimes
Here's the thing,
just
if I-
broccoli
Go for
with
it.
cheese puffs.
If I get my body used to something, then it knows what's coming. And you don't want a body that knows what's coming. You got to be agile.
Yeah, you got to keep it guessing. That's the best way to stay fat.
Yeah.
It's persistently attributed to the extremes of a political left and a fear-mongering specter of wokeness. Itself a freighted term, originally derived and then distorted from the black vernacular, quote, woke, which invokes a spirit of vigilance to see the world as it really is. The experimental novelist William Melvin Kelly may have been the first to introduce woke to the mainstream as an adjective in his 1962 essay on black idiom, If You're Woke, You Dig It, in which he noted how words change with the color of the people who use them, yet cancellations come just as easily from those aligned in thinking with the far right. Recall how in 2014, a group of video gamers pressured corporations under the guise of championing ethics and journalism to withdraw advertising dollars from media outlets that had criticized lack of diversity in the game industry and at the same time terrorize female gamers and writers with rape and death threats. First of all, fuck those gamers.
I hate gamers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously.
I'm
fuck
always
the
saying that.
little-
I'm
Yeah.
always saying that. Fuck those.
I'm always
gamers.
saying that.
If I've said it once, I've said it once, one time on this show. But
Mantra.
so
Well, let me ask you guys this. So kind of in that same vein of what you talked about as far as the gamers, John, you may not know this. Greg, you probably do. But the MLB All-Star Game this year was supposed to be in Atlanta, in Georgia. And after the voting rights, that horrific voting rights, lack of voting rights law came to be, they basically protested that and they moved it here to Colorado. Was that an appropriate reaction in your guys' minds?
it's a toughie, right? Because I agree with it in principle. It's like, yes, fuck Georgia, right? But what you also did, because Atlanta is a majority black city,
Right.
Right. So what you did was you took income away from
Jobs.
them. You took jobs away from them, right? And you took it to a very white part of the country.
Whoa,
You know,
whoa,
so it's
whoa,
like-
whoa. No, that's true.
Have you? I mean, seriously, if you're a representation of who's there,
Yeah.
You're the whitest fucking. Colorado's the whitest fucking place in the world.
Yeah, it's very
it's
layered.
the lighting.
And the whiteness of your whiteness.
That's
Now
so
I'm
much
kind of
better.
horny.
Oh my gosh, he looks like an album cover right
I
now.
know. Wow.
Hey,
Oh man. So,
can you
so
sing?
for the
Can
listeners,
you sing "Hurt"?
oh yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Hurt
I want
my.
you like an animal.
Right, and that's
Oh god,
but
that's
but to
turning me
kind of
on.
like answer that question, it's like you take away. So you're taking away all this. In other words, you're like we're not gonna stand for this. So by not standing for this, we're gonna take away all this shit from the people that we're standing up for.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, and again, like the what's behind it. I think right, the intent behind it is like, oh right, like this shit is fucked up, and we're not gonna stand for it, and we're gonna make our stand here. And so I agree with that, but and that's the thing. I don't have the answers. This is incredibly fucking complicated shit, right? So I'm definitely like I didn't pick this topic because to be like, hey, at the end of this, I'm gonna wrap it up and
What? I thought
I'm gonna end
your last call was gonna fix all of this.
No. You're using a lot of potty words today, John.
Am I? I'm sorry. I know how
like-
offended you get.
This shit is so fucked up. That's what you just said. That's
I'm sorry.
I look like I'm in the
I
Blair Witch
apologize.
Project.
You look great.
You really? I mean, this is the best this is
So scared.
For those of you at home or in your car, the entire background of Kevin is
Kevin
just
turned off his lights.
pitch
It
black.
actually looks really creepy. Please do tell me if anything comes up behind me and tries to murder me.
No, we're not going to tell you. We want to see it happen.
Something's coming up in my pants. That's all. I mean,
He does look way sexier
he
right now.
does. Like I am really in. Oh,
You know what's
God damn it!
weird?
There he is.
You know that's a compliment when you see less of someone and they get more attractive.
I can't have you guys that turned on. I had to turn the light back on.
Okay.
Fair. That's fair. All right, so I'm just gonna skip. So there was like, I was gonna give examples of like
Yeah,
some
we don't
really
need that shit. Fuck it.
fucked up shit, like where like Nazis in 1938 in Vienna,
Of course.
made Jews like
We get it, they were bad.
like clean anti-Nazi graffiti off of stuff like on their and they would like do it publicly and people would make fun of them, and so that is one of the things. So if you go back into when I forget what it's called, but the thing where they lock your head and your arms in, that used to be a way of like public humiliation, and the goal behind it was it's just like, and people would throw rotten food at them, and the reason they would do that is because basically what you're doing is you're involving a whole society to make a person lesser. And then there was this shift from monarchies to citizenship, starting to like transition into democracies, and what happened was that people were no longer subjects. So people, like in the 1800s, people became citizens, and when you were a citizen, you were part of a group. So they actually started to shift away from capital punishment and public, or not capital punishment, I'm sorry, more like the public shaming part. And then it became more of, if a citizen were to put you down, if a citizen were to judge another citizen, that was like kind of like the cultural reprimanding. So, so this is not new. Like, canceling is not a new thing. I mean, Jesus Christ got crucified in public. So, I mean, he's a made-up imaginary character. But crucifixions really did happen 2,000 years ago.
Oh,
And
come
I know
on.
that because
I don't want to get on a tangent, but you don't believe he existed at all?
No, I'm kidding. I think he
okay.
did. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's always funny when you're like making fun of someone's like a whole culture's Lord and Savior. Okay, good job.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that anymore.
You know what, John?
Thank you, Greg.
You're off the show.
Bye.
All right, so there's this guy Morgan Wallen, and these are all people who got canceled in I think in like the last 6 months. So there's this guy Morgan Wallen who's a country singer, and me personally, I feel like since he's a country singer, he should be canceled. Period. Right? Like, we just need to get rid of country music.
John, we're finally speaking the same language. I cannot stand country music.
I don't
Wasn't
get
this
it.
guy on SNL? And
Well,
he
was supposed to be.
but then the next week he was on.
Oh, did they bring him back? Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, they brought him back.
Oh, I
and
didn't remember
that. He's got a sweet fucking mullet, and he wears one of those, like, you know how like all those country guys wear those Wrangler plaid shirts, but he wears one without sleeves on it.
Like Larry the Cable Guy. That's a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he knows he's being ironic, but
Does he sing a song called "Achy Breaky Heart" too?
He does. He does. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. I just don't think it understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky
that's like Elvis and Achy Breaker Heart. I like that.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
What can I do to get you to keep singing? Maybe this is the wrong format for our podcast.
Venmo me $100. I'll keep singing.
Okay, hang on a second.
Greg, I'm not pitching in for that.
All right, cool. And that's a picture of your dick. All right, so he was canceled in February for making a racist comment outside his home that someone recorded and posted to social media. He said a very bad word towards black people. And he was suspended from his record label, deemed ineligible for any American Country Music Awards, and removed from every major country radio station. Following the incident, he posted a 5-minute video on YouTube about how he plans to educate himself. So, and that's the thing, right? It's like, good. And I mean, I got to say this day and age, like, if you're a white dude and you don't know that you can't use the N-word or any derogatory thing towards anybody, then, it's like, I think you do need to be shamed. I think you do need to.
But what's the level of sincerity?
It's.
He saw his money ship cruising away, probably.
Which is a really good motivator to fucking change who you are, right? And
but is he going to change himself truly within his heart, or is he just changing his public persona?
Well, so I can't think of the guy's name right now, but I know that there's I think he was a jazz singer.
No, that's me.
No, definitely not you.
Oh.
He was handsome and black. So he was an African American man who and what he did for years is he would have dinners and lunches with white supremacists, and he would just have conversations with him, and like over time they came to see him as human, and so it's like through this action he didn't ostracize them, because he realized that if you do that, so basically if you shut people out, so if there's some racist guy, right, or woman or whatever, and you shut them out, and again, I'm not, we shouldn't condone it, we shouldn't be like, yeah, but if you engage them in a way where you allow them to, and when that's the thing, is I couldn't do this because I'm just a white guy talking to a white guy, but if I were a black person, you engage them in a way where they get to see you as a human, they will start to change. Like, human beings have the capacity to change, but if you ostracize them and you're just like, you deserve to disappear, and you never have a chance to redeem yourself, and you never have a chance to change, then they have no motivation to change.
It justifies how they already feel.
Right. Well, and it justifies how they feel, and it radicalizes them.
Yeah.
Right. So then you have somebody who is racist, right? Who uses a racist word. So I'm not justifying what the guy said, but if you like start like shaming this person and you shut them down completely and never give them the chance to grow, then you make a person who may start killing people or may join a group that commits violent acts. Time and time again, it's like if you want somebody to change a behavior, you can't tell them to change the behavior. You have to engage them with curiosity and ask them questions and get them to move in a way that will change their behavior. Or again, if you have public shaming, but they have a chance to change and grow, then they have the space to do that.
There was a to kind of similar thing for that country singer. There's a NASCAR driver named Kyle Larson who had a similar thing during the pandemic. He was competing in this like iRacing thing, like a e-game type thing, and he said the same racial slur, not knowing that he was being recorded or that people could hear him, and he was let go by the racing team that he was part of, and ostracized and stuff like that as well. He is back and he's on another team. He's one of the best drivers in the sport. And of course he came out, said all the things that you're supposed to say when you get caught saying one of those things and all that. I mean, it wasn't towards a black person. It was he was like just trash talking a little bit, not even to any, not in any way that meant in a racial way in that moment. It didn't make sense, at least in that moment. Again, not justifying him using it, because he should never use it, just like
right.
Nobody should, none of us should. But I mean, he was allowed back too. Like, he was able to kind of come back from that, kind of like the country singer was.
Well, and I think too, like, I kind of want to get into like how how cancel culture is affecting science and healthcare and journalism, right? So like these three things, you know, so it's like journalism should be something that is they're reporting the facts, and we as human beings who are hopefully are intelligent enough to draw our own conclusions from the facts, right? They're not there to give you a narrative. They should be there to say, here's everything I found. You draw your own conclusion, right? But what's happening in journalism, and you know, and I don't think it's like unfair to say that newspapers and media and stuff have definitely been more liberal, because you go to liberal arts schools and you are opened up to a different kind of world and you have these different experiences. But it seems to be that they're getting, because universities have gotten more and more radicalized to the left, then now you have all these young journalists coming up, and they're also, so now it's no longer about telling a story. It's about kind of like telling the story you want to tell, right? Telling your side of the story.
And some of it, I think, does become clickbait too, though, right? Like, there's also that
For
side
sure.
that people want to be controversial so that they can get the clicks and get the
you know, and
notoriety.
Fox News does the same thing. Like, I'm not, you know, Fox News is, you know, they are not fair and balanced. But it seems to be that more and more and more of our media sources are telling one side of a story, and that is, I believe, that is just really dangerous. And I think a lot of that is because of cancel culture. You know, like for example, J.K. Rowling. I'll go. So J.K. Rowling. Everybody knows who she is. If you don't, then you have not been on this planet. So
she wrote The Lord of the Rings.
Yep, she did. Yep, all 7 books of The Lord of the Rings.
That and Twilight.
Yep,
She's related to J.K. Simmons.
Yep, she wrote and
They have the same first initials.
that is how it works.
It happened.
So she was canceled, and that's the thing, right? Is like she really wasn't canceled. She was just kind of like ostracized on Twitter. But she's also a billionaire, so it's like really and truly at that point, canceling her, you're not hurting her, right? And so this controversy started as Rowling tweeted support for turfism. And do you guys know what turfism is?
No, but I remember
no.
reading this story. But
It's I forget, it's trans something radical feminism. I forget what the E's for. So, but what's fascinating is, so it's kind of like the first wave feminists and second wave feminists have now become, like, they're now considered TERFs, which is not a positive term. So TERFism believes that trans women aren't women and that biological sex is the only factor that determines someone's gender. And I think this is really fascinating, because even the way this statement is written is actually not representative of what that is. So that initial tweet garnered a lot of backlash, but Rowling did not relent and wrote about her views in more detail. And here's what she wrote. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. The idea that women like me, who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they are vulnerable in the same way as women, that I hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences is nonsense. So that's what she wrote. And Twitter went fucking crazy. And again, all three of us, right? The only experience we have is being white dudes. We're white straight dudes. We're the most, you know,
straight-ish.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I do have a butt plug, so. No, we're definitely white.
Yeah. Some more than others,
I mean,
Greg.
Yeah.
He's more blue tonight, though.
You know, but she called all
I'm
this
melancholy.
she called all this shit, and then this is where I think cancel culture is dangerous, because if you are a trans person, whether you're transitioning from male to female, female to male, I certainly believe you have the right to do that, and I want to support you, and I will, like, I actually have a friend that I went to high school with who transitioned, and I'm like, immediately I'm calling them by their name. You know, like, I have no problem with any of that, but you cannot deny that people are born, like, everywhere in nature, right? There's male and female. There's biological male and female. That's just how we're fucking built biologically. And you could argue that there's, like, some people who are born with both sexual, like, you know, testicles, or, you know, they may have testicles yet present as a woman.
Okay, let's not identify body parts right now.
Why?
Because it's just
He doesn't
turning you on.
He gets uncomfortable.
Well,
isn't
he
it
doesn't
also? It's not
understand.
supposed to be. Is it? Wait, let me make sure I have this right. It's not
Okay, wait, here we
gender.
go.
It's not gender. It's sex. Is that right?
Right. So it's not. Yeah. It's not about gender or gender identity. It's truly about biological sex. So that's all she's saying. And so if you make the argument that if you take every man in the world and you take every woman in the world, and you like men are going to have higher testosterone. That's just how we're fucking built, right? That is the biology of it. So she's just talking about the biology of it, but because of that, she gets like this shitstorm.
Well, without getting too deep into the woods, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I feel like to summarize what you're saying is people, there's an overreaction, over political correctness with what happens and people blow everything out of proportion, and they're almost dissecting the words of what people are saying as opposed to the spirit in which they're saying it.
And again, if you take the what was his name, Morgan Wallen. So you take him, he said something racist and fucked up. Yes, right? That is something where we're just like, no, you can't say that, right? And there has to be consequences for that, and there were. So if you start saying that you can't take facts, right? Like there's gravity. Like gravity exists, right? And if you say, well, you can't call it gravity because if you call it gravity,
Did you not listen to the Flat Earth episode?
I did.
But
I did.
let me. So I didn't really get a chance to finish my thought. So
I apologize.
I think what people are extrapolating from what J.K. Rowling said was the spirit in which she meant it. Why does she need to say anything at all? Because it could obviously be viewed as an attack on people's identities.
She that was in response. She had liked like something that someone had said. She had liked 2 comments, and then everybody lost their mind. So this was her, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe this was her kind of responding to that.
And Greg, why do we have to say anything? I mean, I don't know. If she wants to say something, she should be allowed to.
I'm not saying that she shouldn't be allowed to say something. That's totally fine. But when she's expressing it's very much in our zeitgeist right now. There's a lot of people that are struggling with their own identities and if they're going to transition and how society is going to perceive and accept or maybe just cancel them. So it's a very vulnerable time.
Why does anybody have to get canceled? That's the thing is like why, so if we could have discussions about it.
Yeah, we can have discussions about it, and
we can't because people get canceled.
Well, not
I'm
necessarily.
canceling you right now. Hold on, I'm going to stop recording.
Okay, fine.
You can just kick him right
That's
out.
great. That's great. So if somebody says something too outlandish, I feel like it's kind of like water. Water will find its own level. And if someone says something that's too outlandish and believes this kind of thing, then they'll get fucking ostracized appropriately. Maybe the penance that they pay is that they don't get to live in the public spotlight anymore. They don't get to be celebrities anymore. And people just stop caring about their opinions. I've always kind of thought, and I'm guilty of this, but I've always thought give people a chance to speak their mind and, they're going to put their foot in their mouth and fuck up something sooner or later. We do this on our podcast. We take a very big risk being on this podcast.
Absolutely we do.
If maybe next year when I audition at SNL, they're going to just
the risk isn't that great. So
yeah. I don't know, we got some listeners. But I mean, remember the Jeopardy guy, the guy who was supposed to take over Jeopardy, and he said some very inappropriate things on a podcast, and now he's not going to be the host of Jeopardy anymore, and everybody hates him.
And it happened.
And what he said was not cool at all. It was terrible.
No.
He made fun of a lot of different people. He was misogynist and shitty, and
In this day and age, it seems like if you set foot outside your door and you do something wrong, it's going to be captured somehow. It seems like there's
right. Somebody's going to get offended. Somebody's going to get offended. Videotape it, and they're going. But that's the thing, right? Is it's like you're this person nobody knows, right? You're just Greg Mitchell, just walking in the world, blah blah blah. You say something stupid, and again, I'm not talking about something just overtly racist, right? But you say, I don't like fish. And then all of a sudden everybody who has fish and loves fish, they're just like, oh, this fucking guy, he's such an asshole. I can't believe he said that.
Did Greg really say that? You fucker. I think fish is delicious. I enjoy fish very much.
I'm eating fish right now. So
you wish. You must be starving.
Metaphor?
I wish I had fish on my dish.
I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't know. But yeah, so I think that. Go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
If you set foot outside your front door, it seems as though anything and everything you do can be documented in some way or another. It's just kind of the society that we're living in right now, and there's pros and cons. There's no privacy outside of your house.
Yeah,
It
holds people accountable.
It
holds people accountable, but it also, you do lack that privacy for sure. You're right.
We're living in kind of a sci-fi,
Yeah, like a
movie
Black
right
Mirror.
now. Yeah.
All right, so there. I think, and maybe I'm doing a terrible job throughout this podcast. To
Yes, you are.
Try to. I mean, probably
you're doing wonderfully.
Terrible job in life, but so I think this kind of encompasses kind of the complications of where we are at in the world right now with the issues of race, sexism, xenophobia, bigotry, and cancel culture, right? Because I don't think cancel culture did not happen because nothing was wrong. It happened because nothing was wrong and nobody did anything and nothing changed for the longest time. And then the pendulum kind of swings real far. But and I will say this is one of the bad things about cancel culture is what you don't do, what it has not been able to do is knock out the people in power, right? So the people who could actually change laws, they get reelected. They don't, so and they don't change. They don't make new laws. So everything stays the same. So it's like if we could kind of take that energy and focus it politically and not eat each other up and destroy each other, I think it would be way more effective. But so there's this on Glee. There was this actor, one of the main actresses. I've never watched the show, so I don't know, but I think it's Leah Michele. She's well known for her lead role in the hit TV series Glee. Michelle shared a tweet supporting the Black Lives Matter movement in May 2020.
I thought it was Michael.
Huh?
Michael?
What did I say?
Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle. Leah Michele.
Oh,
And then okay, maybe I said Michael, but Michelle. She shared a tweet.
I'm saying Michael. I thought it was Michael, but maybe I'm wrong.
Leah Michele is her name.
What the other
woman.
main girl died, didn't she?
Oh, is it Michael? Because it's Michelle.
Oh, then it must be Michelle.
Right?
I must be wrong.
Okay. So then her fellow Glee co-star Sammy Ware quickly called her out on past actions. Ware said via Twitter, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Because I'll never forget, I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would shit in my wig." Amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. So Sammy Ware did this interview, and I think it was I was about to say Victoria's Secret. That is not it. That is not Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair.
This is they are known for their really insightful interviews.
So it was just a sales clerk, and somehow
I only read the catalogs for the articles.
So she was interviewed, and she was talking about how, so she was talking about how, like, just how shitty Leah was to her, but it turns out Leah was also, and I don't know if is Lea, is that Leah or Lee?
It does.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Works.
I obviously don't know how to pronounce her name at all.
This person, like, she was just shitty. She was just shit. Like, everybody who encountered her, like, she was just like, she had threatened to, like, get Ware fired and done all this stuff, and then so Lee called her out, and then all these black women, kind of like who had experience with her, they all hop on there and they're all saying these things, and then other co-workers, like directors, showrunners, all kinds of people, right, started to come out and just talk about what a horrible person she was. So then even in the interview in Vanity Fair, Ware said she didn't think that Lee Michele, she didn't think she was racist, but she was definitely, but she's just an asshole. Yeah, she's just an asshole. And and here's the thing. She should be canceled, right? Like, nobody should have to work with that person, right? And then that person, and then either they learn that they're an asshole and they need to change their ways and be more humble, or they never get to work again. Like that, I think that's where it's like you give people the chance to change, and then she comes back and she does something, and if she doesn't change, then she goes away, right? I'm fine with that. But anyway, so then she goes on to that article where, but then she does get into, the racism, and it was like really fascinating because, again, I love when I read stuff that makes me think or have an experience that I've never experienced. I've watched a lot of television, and I've never really thought, I've definitely thought like, oh, there's not a lot of black actors on television. There's not a lot of, Chinese or Korean or whatever. There's just, so it's like whites are definitely way overrepresented in television. So I knew that, but I never even thought about like, if a lot of times when there's a black character, it's like, it's not like a deep, meaningful character. Right, it's like a stereotype, or it's like a and Sammy was talking about in a lot of auditions.
I think that's getting better, though.
No, it is,
Yeah.
it is. But but I think so. It's so I think also what's happening is right. It's so easy to just automatically assume that this Leah whatever is racist when and maybe she is on some level, and I don't know the inner workings of her head, but she's just mean, right, to everybody.
She's just shitty,
right? She's just shitty, and I think that can be true, and at the same time there is systemic racism, right? So it's like those two things can be true at the same time, but because they're happening at the same time doesn't necessarily equate that this person is a racist, and so I think that, and that's where it was kind of talking about like that sacrifice, right? Is so it's like what we do is we make these people accountable for a culture that doesn't work for a lot of people, and so anyway,
yeah,
that's ha ha ha.
Good example, John.
Yeah,
I liked the example, John, too.
I don't know if I liked it,
Oh.
but it was a good one.
Okay, good example, John, but I didn't like it. Is that better?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I guess it's time for last call.
Oh,
Huh?
fuck. Guess what? I have a shot.
Yay!
I'm ready for you, John.
I have a fast tire. So I'm going to do this a little bit different. I don't think Greg is like losing his mind right now. That shot was
That
not a
shot
good one,
got
apparently.
him. That shot got him.
That shot did get him.
It got me. It got me, guys. I got to take a knee. I'm going to take a knee for your last call, John.
So in the bigger picture, we have the history as human beings to look at our past, learn, and change our behaviors. But the problem is that we have too many biases that we don't acknowledge to allow us to make better choices. So today, I ask all those historians listen to go talk to someone that you absolutely disagree with on almost every level. And don't try to make your point. Just ask them questions about what they believe and find out who they are. And just maybe, if we all go out there and do that, we will change fucking history. Have a great night.